Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this August State Energy Plan edition of the Renewable Heat Now Power Hour. My name is Lisa Marshall. I am the Director of Organizing and Advocacy at New Yorkers for Clean Power. We're one of the organizations that founded the Renewable Heat Now campaign and have been a big part of keeping it going these many years. And I'm very happy to see all of you tonight here joined by my other NYCP colleagues, Jen Rand and Anshul Gupta. It's going to be a New Yorkers for Clean Power hour for you tonight. We're on a little bit of a skeleton crew in August with people on vacation and whatnot. But we really wanted to host this power hour because we have a big opportunity coming up for organizing and advocacy around decarbonizing our buildings, and we wanted to make sure you all knew about it and knew how to get involved. So next slide. So our agenda for tonight, a little bit about our campaign. In case you're new here, you're very welcome. We're always happy to see new folks. And if this is your first power hour, let us know. Make sure that you know what it is we do here at Renewable Heat Now. We're going to talk about the New York State Energy Plan public hearings and comment period that has already kicked off, and the first hearing is next week. We're going to give a little update on one of our biggest campaign wins, the All Electric Building Act, and where that stands here in New York. We're going to talk about the repeal of the 100-foot rule, which was the part of New York Heat that we won in the legislature this year, and the steps we're taking to get Governor Hochul to sign that bill into law. And we're going to take action together and talk about next steps for this campaign a little bit. So next slide. Welcome to Tina. Happy to have you here. So Renewable Heat Now is not an organization. We are a campaign made up of many orgs and individuals, all with the same goal of kicking fossil fuels out of our buildings, decarbonizing our buildings, because here in New York, buildings are the biggest source of fossil fuels because most of our buildings are heated with fossil fuels and most of us are cooking with fossil fuels and heating our hot water with fossil fuels. And a lot of that heating is happening with methane gas, or so-called natural gas, which really heats up the atmosphere, not only when you burn it, but also as it leaks all along from the wellhead in Pennsylvania where the gas is extracted, as it's moved along pipelines, through compressor stations, through gas distribution pipes, and into your house, into your stove, into your furnace, into your hot water heater. All along the way, little bits of methane leak out, and those little bits go up into the atmosphere where, especially in the short term, the next decade or so, they have a very, very big impact on the warming of our atmosphere, which means they have a big impact on climate change. And even after the methane degrades, it turns into carbon dioxide, and then it's also warming the atmosphere for hundreds of years. So it's a tough puzzle to tackle how we get this fossil fuels out of our buildings. It's going to take a long time. It's going to have to be supported financially. And that's what we work on here at Renewable Heat Now, good policies to make sure that we can have healthier, safer, more comfortable homes that lower our energy bills and get those fossil fuels out. So that's what we're here to do. And we've been working on different kinds of policy initiatives, including legislation, to accomplish those goals. Next slide, please. Okay, so the main topic of tonight's teach-in is the New York State Energy Plan. And for those of you who've been involved with the Renewable Heat Now, you might remember that at the end of last year, last September, the State Energy Planning Board convened. It's something that happens every few years in New York by statute. And they got together and they first determined what the scope of the state energy plan should be. And we made a lot of comments on the scope. We had a very technical comment that many organizations signed on to. We also had sort of a grassroots comment that most of you probably submitted. We had set a goal of 750 comments and we got over 1,000 comments submitted to the planning board. Now, fast forward to now, they came out with their final scope, and then they've been meeting, they've been talking about different energy issues at their meetings, and they recently came out with a draft of the actual plan. And this plan really sets the whole energy policy for the state for the next 15 years. Of course, they will update the plan 4 or 5 years from now, but this plan that they put in place now is really the roadmap that directs all the state energy policy. And part of the process is that the draft plan is put out for public comment. And that's where we come in because there's a lot to comment on in this plan. And as Renewable Heat now, we're not going to give any guidance for all of the sectors of the energy sectors. We're just going to give guidance about the buildings because that's what we do here. Other organizations, though, will be giving some guidance, and we'll talk about that later. But right now, we're really only talking about the buildings, the heating, the hot water, the appliances, and all the fossil fuels burned in buildings, and how we're going to equitably and in a sort of planned and deliberate and safe way start to decarbonize our buildings. So we did have a teach-in on the energy plan, or this was not a Renewable Heat Now teach-in, it was a New Yorkers for Clean Power teach-in, and we'll share the video recording of that teach-in from last year, so you can watch it. That will tell you more about this process and how it relates to the CLCPA, the state's climate law. And you can watch that if you want to get caught up on more aspects of the plan. But basically, this is a legally binding process that New York is going through that really will set the stage for what's to come. And my colleague Anshul is going to go and tell you a lot more about what's in the plan and what needs to be in the plan that's not in the plan. But what I will say is the state is basically saying that the climate goals that we have set are too ambitious and too hard. And then this plan, they want to roll a lot of those back and keep fossil fuels in place for a lot longer. And that's, in a nutshell, what we need to comment on and make sure they hear from all of us. So let's see how we're going to do that. Next slide. Okay, now I'm going to turn this meeting over to my esteemed colleague Anshul Gupta, who is New Yorkers for Clean Power's policy director, who has actually read the plan, which is not easy to do because it's extremely long and detailed. And he's going to talk to you in high level about what's in the plan that we like and what needs to be in the plan and how we're going to make sure that the state hears from us about what needs to be in the plan. Again, we're only talking about the building sector in this meeting, but the plan, of course, covers transportation, energy, power generation, and other things, which is not the topic of this meeting. So Anshul, are you here?
Yes.
Right, good. You're a little soft. Can you talk a little bit?
Yes. Are you able to hear me now?
I can hear you, but you're a little soft.
Uh, okay.
Just really speak up.
Okay. Is that better?
That's better.
Trying to.
Great. Take it away.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Anshul Gupta. I'm the Policy and Research Director for New Yorkers for Clean Power, and I have actually not read the entire plan. I've only read the buildings and the gas. That's the chapters on buildings and the gas distribution, which is the sort of the topic of our conversation tonight. Uh, before diving into the slides, just wanted to give you a sort of my impressions from what I read in these two chapters. The State Energy Plan is supposed to be a guiding document uh, for the state's energy systems for the next 15 years. The way the draft is written, it seems to be sort of a hodgepodge of the current state of energy, projections, uh, and some recommendations. Uh, and in the current state of the energy and in the projections, what I noticed is that there is a lot of whining and complaining about why the recommendations of the scoping plan are sort of costly and difficult to implement. For example, there is a lot of talk about upfront electrification costs. A lot of this whining and complaining is sort of insincere. The reason is that the problems and the hurdles that the plan talks about have basically been created by the state or by the poor choices that a state continues to make, or basically the local administration continues to make. Uh, for example, they paused the Cap and Invest program, which was meant to which was meant to fund the transition. So obviously, we know that capital expenses associated uh, with building electrification, the upfront costs, they are significant. But the scoping plan recommended the Cap and Invest program to actually fund those fund that transition. The state energy plan is also quiet on the obligation to serve gas, which, as we know from our New York Heat campaign, would redirect a lot of funding from lot of sort of wasteful investments that are going into replacing gas pipes into electrification. So we have the money, the hurdles are not unsurmountable, but the plan only sort of complains about the hurdles and the costs, and does not recommend the right solutions. Uh, Okay, so starting the 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 slides, of course there are a few bright spots in the energy plan, and one of them is the commitment to the All Electric Building Act. This was sort of this is a it- the bill was passed in 2023. The states uh, the the Building Codes Council sort of voted on incorporating uh, the recommendations of the All Electric Building Act into the state's building code, which will go into effect on January 1st, 2026. But it's still good to see that the plan shows commitment to it and will hopefully continue to vigorously defend any legal challenges. Uh, the plan also rightly uh, recommends integrated gas and electric system planning, because uh, as we plan to downsize the gas distribution system, this the downsizing has to be done in phases, prioritizing the most leak-prone pipes at the periphery of the gas system, uh, and the plan recommends uh, essentially creating maps and databases, uh, and then recommending the uh, investments in upgrading the electrical system, electricity distribution system to coincide with the downsizing of the gas system, so that when those pipes are retired, there's enough electricity, reliable electricity to power the electric electric heating and hot water in those sections. Uh, Hydrogen blending and other false solutions like certified natural gas are out. The plan clearly calls them out as false solutions, and does not recommend and clearly states that these have no place in our gas distribution system. So that's good. Uh, the plan also calls for appliance and equipment standards with demand response capability. For example, your water heater should be able to respond to price signals or other signals and not fire up during peak electricity demand, and would consume more electricity during off-peak hours, because your water heater is essentially a thermal energy storage system. So things like that. Next slide, please. Okay, so what's not in the plan? I already mentioned that the plan sort of does not recommend any funding mechanism for the energy transition and is completely silent on the cap and invest program. The uh, the, the plan is also silent on the regulatory changes that are required for transitioning the building sector. Uh, the integration analysis that accompanied the scoping plan calculated that we need to reduce emissions from our building sector by at least 85% in order to meet the goals of the CLCPA. And that can only be accomplished uh, if we repeal the 100-foot rule and amend the gas utility obligation to serve. In fact, it is infuriating to see that the scoping plan simply regurgitates projections from National Fuel and National Grid, which in its projection section, which show that the gas demand and the number of gas customers for these two utilities will continue to increase well up to 2040 and beyond, uh, as if the state has no control over that. So that is that of course is problematic. Uh, the the plan um, fails to recommend binding limits on emissions from the gas distribution system, either at the utility level or the gas distribution system level, which sort of ties into the second bullet, which is on regulatory changes, because we need those regulatory changes in order to reduce emissions and put binding limits on emissions from the gas distribution system. The scoping plan called for uh, zero emission gas appliance standards, that is starting in 2030 for housing for residential use in buildings with less than 50 residential units. That is, at the end of the life, a gas appliance would be, or a fossil fuel appliances can only be replaced with a zero emission electric appliance uh, starting 2030 for sort of low rise buildings and starting 2035 for larger buildings. Uh, these are, of course, likely to be delayed because there doesn't seem to be enough political will to implement something something sort of that that dramatic within the next 5 years. But the state energy plan is supposed to cover a period until 2040, and it is still a glaring omission on part of the state energy board that they don't even mention the appliance phase out in the draft energy plan. So even if we are not able to implement those in 2030 and 2035, we should start the process of phasing out a mandatory phasing out of gas appliances in existing buildings with electrical appliances sometime before 2040. And finally, as you probably already would have guessed from my commentary until this point, that the plan fails to adhere to the recommendations of the scoping plan. The CLCPA directs the State Energy Board to follow the recommendations of the scoping plan in the first state energy plan that follows the release of the scoping plan, which is this state energy plan. So so the way the draft is written, it does not follow the law because it uh, simply ignores a lot of key recommendations of the scoping plan. Next slide, please. Okay, so our asks are basically to remedy all the shortcomings of the of the draft state energy plan. Um, we are asking the State Energy Board to follow the Climate Action Council's scoping plan letter recommendations because it is the law. Add declining limits on gas emissions, and enable the regulatory changes to the public service law, like the 100-foot rule and amending the obligation to serve. We know from the state's own analysis that without declining limits on gas emissions, uh, we have no hope of meeting the goals of the CLCPA because buildings are the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in the state. Um, Include a plan for phasing out fossil fuel appliances in existing buildings, which is a key recommendation of the scoping plan. Uh, Fund the solutions and essentially roll out the cap and invest regulations. And finally, center energy affordability during the energy transition, uh, plan for implementing the state's policy of limiting energy burdens to 6% of the incomes and explore various tools to accomplish that 6% goal.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you. That's all.
Anshul. I think we should go to the next slide. That was a lot of information. Um, and if some of it went over your head, please don't be embarrassed. It's just a lot of dense information. So we're happy to dig in with you on any of those recommendations. But the bottom line is that we have a pretty good climate plan in place, and the State Energy Planning Board is basically saying, not so fast. We need to not follow that. We're going to backtrack. We're going to use gas for a lot longer. And so we have some ways to take action on that. And, they have, I saw that in the chat, we're responding to what Anshul said about whining. Uh, what basically they're saying is that the Trump administration isn't you know, giving New York as much money, and that COVID set us back, and that inflation set us back. And all of those things are true. What we would say is that's all the more reason that New York State should be resolute in putting forward a strong energy plan that protects citizens and keeps us healthy and safe and makes a plan to make this transition happen. And so I think that a lot of their arguments don't really hold water. Okay. Um, this is not going to be your only opportunity to learn about our recommendations, but this is sort of the first time we're going to talk to you about it. And the reason why we wanted to schedule this, even though everybody really just wants to be off in August and outside and doing other things, is because the hearings are about to start happening all across the state. And there's 2 virtual hearings. So we are really encouraging people to show the power of the climate movement. Governor Hochul doesn't think that we are very powerful. She doesn't really think that we matter. And I think if we turn out in these hearings in large numbers and speak up at these hearings, she's going to have to pay attention to the fact that there's a statewide climate movement that is very motivated and really knowledgeable and wants to see a strong energy plan. So we can also amplify our voices by speaking at the hearing and then posting about it on social media and in other ways. So we'll talk about that later. So this is the hearing schedule. The link is in the chat to sign up to go to these hearings. It's not binding. If you sign up and then you can't make it that day, it's okay. But you should sign up if you are near any of these cities: Buffalo, Rochester, Albany. The Hudson Valley one is in Poughkeepsie, Brooklyn, Bronx, Long Island. The Long Island one is I think we have the address. Is it in Huntington? Can't remember, but we can tell you. Long Island's a big place.
Stony Brook.
Stony Brook, that's right. And there are 2 virtual hearings. It's great to go to the virtual hearings if you cannot go to the in-person hearing. However, for anyone who's testified at a virtual hearing before, it doesn't leave you with that same great feeling of going out and standing up at a microphone and speaking and having hundreds of people out there speaking with you. Instead, you're on a screen, you're waiting for hours for your thing to be called and then for you to be unmuted. And then if you miss it, you have to like try to message them to say you missed it. And it's pretty great. It's pretty unsatisfying, especially if this is your first time giving testimony or if you're trying to motivate your friends, to be part of a robust and exciting climate movement. Probably getting them to testify virtually isn't the best way to go. For the people who've been part of this movement for a long time, and if you just can't make it to an in-person hearing, it's definitely fine and good to go to a virtual one. I probably will do both a virtual one and several of the in-person ones. I'm going to try to personally be at a lot of these hearings to hand out Renewable Heat Now talking points to folks. And we have different point people from the Renewable Heat Now campaign for different hearings. As you can see, and I see the comments in the chat, for many of us, like me and Valdi, the closest hearing is more than 2 hours away. Sometimes they've had hearings in Binghamton, but they don't this time. We could actually write to them and say, hey, we want a hearing. Maybe they'll give us one. But so the whole month of September is going to be taken up with these hearings. And then the final date to submit written comments is October 6th. So we're going to be trying to get, if we got 1,000 comments on the scope, I think we can get a few thousand comments on the actual plan. You can comment more than one time. You can make different kinds of comments. If you commented with the Sierra Club, it's in Poughkeepsie, Rick. If you commented with the Sierra Club, you can still comment with Food and Water Watch. And if you commented with Food and Water Watch, you can still comment with New Yorkers for Clean Power. And if you commented with New Yorkers for Clean Power, you can still comment with Renewable Heat Now. So don't feel like if you made one comment, that is your limit. This is an open process, and we're looking for quantity as well as quality of comments on the plan. But what I'm really hoping is that people will make an effort, if you live anywhere near a hearing and you are possibly available, to make an effort to actually go in person and bring along a few folks and really pack those hearings. I want the state energy agencies to be really overwhelmed and awed by the scope and the power of this movement. Sometimes they like to say things like, oh, it's just a few hipsters in Brooklyn who care about climate. We know that's not true. But we need to show a lot of geographic diversity. We need to show youth coming out, elderly people coming out, moms with kids, people from different income brackets, different backgrounds, different level of education. Really, we want to show that the climate movement represents all of New York in its beauty and diversity, and that people care about this issue. So your comments can be, highly technical, but I don't really recommend that, and we're going to talk about that in the next slide. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay. So we have a document to help you prepare your 2-minute comment if you're going to comment online or at a hearing or both. You're going to have 2 minutes to speak, and you should really not try to pack. A lot of people think I'm going to pack as much as I can into those 2 minutes, but it's actually more effective to have a carefully crafted comment where you're not rushing. So it would not exceed 300 words. Personally, maybe even fewer than 300 words. I also encourage people to make it personal. The details, the scientific details and the data are less important than they know that you're there and you're motivated to be there because you need an energy upgrade in your home. Your kids are scared about their future. You experienced a climate disaster, a flood, a hurricane, a drought, and you're worried that the state isn't doing enough to protect you. There's everybody has their own reason, and they need to hear what those reasons are of why you care about this and why you want the state to take bold action and not to roll back our climate goals. And your statement should include an ask. You don't want to just get up there and talk. You want to say, I want the Energy Planning Board to include this or not include that. Don't try to cover every point you care about in a 2-minute statement. You can do that in a written statement. Pick 1 to 3 points that are the most important to you and just make a clear ask. This should not be in the state energy plan. This should be in the state energy plan. And make it very clear that that's what you're asking for. We have a whole list of tips for how to make an effective comment. We'll send things around with some sample videos of people giving really good comments, but I highly recommend you really think about who do you represent? Who is your community? Who are you standing in there for at the podium who couldn't make it that day? You know, do you have a relative or a friend who wants to be part of it, but they um, are not able to make a comment? You're speaking for them too. So you want to represent. You want to be powerful and you want to be persuasive in your comments. And there's lots and lots of time to put in all the technicalities in a written comment, etc. All right. And I think Jen shared our sort of comment guide in the chat, and we will also email it to everyone who registered for this Zoom. We also have hot off the presses, and when I say hot off the presses, we were finishing this as this Zoom started, so we will all be testing it today. A written comment you can make right now using our comment tool. Again, this is a comment just on the buildings with Renewable Heat Now. You can also make many other written comments. This comment also might get updated and improved because, as I said, we were really rushing to get it done. And I think what I'd love for you to do is I'll take a moment to go in and make this comment right now. So there's a link in the chat to submit a comment, and it should open up a window. And you'll see our comments, which paraphrase some of the points that Anshul was covering. So if you like what we have to say, you can just hit submit, or you can take a few minutes to make edits to the comment for your own edits. I'm just going to give you all a minute to do that now. You can make an edit by clicking the little pencil at the bottom of the screen. After you've made a comment, you could put a little emoji in the chat to let us know that you successfully completed the comment. Does everybody have that link? Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Susie. I see the comments coming in. Diane, here we go. Here's the link again for you. Thank you for letting us know you couldn't find it. Can you pop that into the chat again, Jen, for Diane, please? I also want to introduce you to our link tree. I just put a comment to our link tree. We try to keep the link tree updated with all of our latest links, and it's a good thing to bookmark on your computer. Or if you follow Renewable Heat Now on Instagram, you can always find the link tree in our bio, and that's where you can find these links. So if you want to text to a friend and ask them to take an action too, you can just text them the link tree, and the first link on there is this state energy plan comment. Yes, we can work with you on that. Can you shoot me an email? And we will, and remind me, and I'll give you a link. So if your organization wants to use this comment, we can give you your own unique link to use. You don't have to use the Renewable Heat Now link. All right, I see the comments going in. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. And thanks for signing up to attend, Samantha. I hope a bunch of people signed up for the hearings. That's terrific. Let's go to the next slide now. Okay, so as I said, Renewable Heat Now is not the only campaign that is organizing around these hearings. I think you're going to be getting a lot of emails from the different orgs that you work with. And there are more trainings going on. On Monday, the 18th, the Sierra Club is doing a training during the day and a training in the evening that you can sign up for. They will also be talking about how to give a good comment. They will be giving their recommendations for key points you want to make. They're going to cover buildings, but they're also going to cover other sectors from the Sierra Club's point of view. And later, a few weeks from now, after the hearings are already in full swing, New Yorkers for Clean Power is going to be doing a teach-in with some really fantastic speakers, including Janet Joseph, who used to be at NYSERDA, who's going to cover buildings, Marguerite Wells, who is the executive director of the Association for Clean Energy in New York, who's going to talk about the power sector, and Jackie Cohen from Tri-State Transportation, who's going to cover transportation. So that will be our teach-in, and we'll be focusing on the remaining hearings as well as written comments that go beyond buildings from the New Yorkers for Clean Power point of view, which might be slightly different than the Sierra Club point of view. And you may be hearing from other orgs and coalitions, from New York Renews and others, et cetera. But these are the ones we had links to that we wanted to make sure you had. And tomorrow night, where do we have Kim's action tomorrow in Brooklyn? Jen, is that later?
Yes.
Okay, so I should go to the next slide. Okay. Okay. I wanted to share with you guys some really good news, which is, as Anshul said, remember in 2023 when we passed the All Electric Building Act? That means that new buildings starting in January in New York, most new buildings will have to be built without fossil fuel connections. They will be built all electric. And this law was passed by our campaign and others working together in 2023. It was a really big win. We're the first state to do this. And this has been, of course, even after we won, we had to keep winning the win as the Code Council put it into the state code. Well, a couple of weeks ago, the Code Council did put out the state building code and the All Electric Building Act, although they had really hemmed and hawed about including it. It is in there without rollbacks, the same dates, which is very exciting. Meanwhile, some bad guys tried to sue New York to overturn this law, and they lost that lawsuit in court. So the same week as the Code Council. So those baddies did overturn Berkeley's all electric building law. Oops. But they did not win in the court here. So we are in good shape there. Jen, I don't know what happened to the slide, but yeah. Yes, you will definitely get a recording and it will be on our YouTube channel. Thanks for asking. So we have really good news to share. It's very important to celebrate the good news and the wins these days when there's so little good news to go around. So we're very excited about this and very proud of the work that we've done. And all of you on this Zoom probably helped us win that win and keep winning that win. And we're just so pleased to be able to share that we are marching forward towards new buildings that will be clean and healthy and affordable. People will have air conditioning, they will have good air quality, and we'll be in great shape. It's okay, we're having a little technical difficulty. We're going to fix that now. Here we go. Okay, great. Next slide, please. Okay, an update on our New York Heat campaign. As you guys, most of you probably know, we've been fighting for cleaner heat and lower bills in the legislature for 3 or 4 years, depending on how you count. And this year we didn't win it all, but we finally won one of the big parts of the New York Heat Act, which is ending this subsidy for continuing to expand the gas system. So this, along with the All Electric Building Act really is going to mean the end of gas expansion in New York, um, which is really quite astounding if you think about it, um, and a big, big, big win. Of course, we still need the governor to actually sign this so that it will be a law. And she has not been too forthcoming about her plans vis-a-vis signing. So we are going to have to keep a slow and steady drumbeat on her about signing this bill. We have different plans in place. We're not trying at this point to do any huge grassroots mobilizations. We are really hoping she will sign it. She did personally put it in her own budget twice in the past, so she knows what it's about. Can we go back? Sorry, Jen. But we do have a role for you to play. We're gonna do a couple things tonight. And if you are tabling or you're getting together with friends for any kind of action, and you could help us by getting postcards signed. And we will let you know there's going to be a few regional actions, one in Westchester. We're going to be doing a few grassrootsy things around this, but we're not asking people to keep keep doing all of the calling and emailing that they've been doing. But we are going to make a call tonight. I think, what we suspect is that what she'll probably do is sign it, but right before the end of the year. We have to keep a steady drumbeat on her. We are going to hold a letter to the editor training next month, and it'd be great if you published a letter to the editor about what Governor Hochul needs to do, which includes the 100-foot rule and naming her, and we'll teach you how to do that next month. That's one of the powerful things. We know that she pays attention to the press and that her staff is going to be paying attention to that. So, all right, sorry, let's go to the next slide. Just a refresher for those who don't know what the 100-foot rule is. Basically, right now, anybody within 100 feet of a gas main who wants to hook their building up to gas gets that hookup for free. And it's an added charge on all our bills that it makes gas more expensive for everybody, makes energy more expensive for everybody. So it's a bit silly to be subsidizing a dirty fuel industry when we should be putting money towards clean energy instead. And it's a bit concerning that our gas delivery fees keep going up because the gas utilities are investing all this money year after year, our money, in gas infrastructure, and especially gas expansion. It's just silly. So the straight up cost of this is about 200 million a year. And you can see how that's distributed on this map by different utilities. Some places much more than others, but the cost is really much more than 200 million a year because as you expand the gas system, you have to expand other pieces of it to keep the gas service. So it isn't just the cost of the pipe. This is just the cost of the pipe, not the sort of added cost to the whole system. So it's very expensive, and we shouldn't be doing it because, like, if you're a house on oil, you want to get rid of your oil system, you should be going straight to heat pumps, not getting a gas hookup. So this is what this 100-foot rule is. It doesn't have a good name like New York Heat. It's just the repeal of the 100-foot rule. Not very memorable. And these are the bill numbers. So we do really want people to keep asking the governor to sign this bill. Let's go to the next slide. So Francesca, if you live in the area where most people are on propane, and somebody in that area is close enough to a gas main to get a gas hookup, then everybody who's already on gas is paying for that gas hookup. Does that make sense?
Even the people who have propane pay for it?
No, all the people on the gas system pay for it.
Okay, yeah, we don't really have gas hookups out here. So
Right. Right. But National Grid wants you to. They want us to pay for it. We don't want to. Okay, so this definitely helps us accomplish our goals. It isn't everything we need, but we do need to, you know, it's really obscene how the gas utilities are increasing their profits. We just are putting out a press release tomorrow because the Central Hudson rate case is going to be approved. The rate hike is going to be approved by the Public Service Commission tomorrow at their meeting, or we anticipate that it will. And their profits in 10 years have gone up 350%. And a lot of that profiteering is from all this money that they're pouring into expanding the gas system and replacing gas pipe. So we want to whittle away at their ability to keep doing that. We think they're profitable enough already. All right. So what we're going to do tonight is everybody is going to take out their phone or click on their computer link, and we're going to take 5 minutes from now till 7:55 to all make this call to Governor Hochul and read the script and tell her to pass the repeal of the 100-foot rule. You can also, if you don't have the ability to call or just don't want to call, you can just bypass the calling on the tool and send an email, but calls are considered more effective than emails. So, and you can do both. So I'm going to mute myself and I'm going to call right now with my phone. I'm going to have all of you call, and then we'll come back and close out. We have a few more upcoming actions we want you to know about. So I'm just going to give you all a couple minutes to do this now. There's links in the chat too. So you can go by the screen or you can go by the link in the chat. Okay. I have also made my call. Thank you so much. I also made my message a little spicier, Francesca, so good for you. It's great to say different things. The script is just there, you know, as a guideline. Of course, you should say what's on your heart. So I'm glad we've taken that action together. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Samantha. Much spicier. Uh-oh. Okay. What is this is the call slide, so we just move past this one, right? Okay. Um, so do we have the link, Jen, for the Williams actions and the SANE thing for tomorrow? Did I miss that? Did I skip it?
Nope, it's on this slide here.
Slide. Okay. All right. So there's a couple of there's, you know, a lot of things happening in New York right now, and I'm sure you're aware that one of the big things that's happening is that Governor Hochul seems to have made a deal with President Trump to fast track some big frack gas pipelines that we already defeated, including the Williams pipeline in New York City. Yes, we're going to get to that, Samantha. Hold on one second. So the deadline to comment and say not to approve that pipeline is the end of this week. I have sent a few comments about this already, and we are sharing a link in the chat that you can use to send a comment. Please use that link either now or later to oppose the Williams pipeline. Tomorrow night in Brooklyn, Sane Energy Project and Assemblymember Emily Gallagher are doing a film screening. It is in Greenpoint, 61 Greenpoint Ave. If you click on that link, Samantha, you should be able to see that. And they are really hoping that you will come out and join that. You might know Assemblymember Gallagher's district has one of the most polluted by gas infrastructure. And she is such a great ally with us in the assembly. So it would be great to have a good group at that film screening, and they'll be taking action there on the pipeline. Okay, and sign up for so make sure that if you're able to, you'll sign up for an energy plan hearing, that you submit a comment using our tool. You're of course also welcome to go to the Energy Planning Board site and submit your own individual comment. There's also going to be comments coming from multiple other sources. There's an upcoming training with the Sierra Club on Monday. There's a teach-in with New Yorkers for Clean Power on September 16th. And that we don't have the date for the September Renewable Heat Now Power Hour that will be a training on letters to the editor yet, but we will send that out to you shortly. Everyone who attended tonight, and can you unshare your screen, please, so we can all see each other and say hi? Will be sent a copy of these slides, the links for the next steps, the upcoming to-dos, the deadlines, and the guidelines for speaking all the things, as well as the recording. It sometimes takes a day or two for us to get that out the door, but we'll look forward to seeing you all soon. Thanks for coming on an August evening when you should probably be out in your garden pulling weeds or sipping a gin and tonic. So instead you spent an hour with us. Really grateful, and it's great to see all of you. Thanks, Anshul, for dipping into the weeds of the energy plan and giving us some great recommendations to go by. Thanks, Jen, for preparing the beautiful slides and running the back end. And have a wonderful evening, everybody. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.